What you're looking at is my new microphone. It's called the Geophone by LOM. And if I were to record this voiceover with it, most people who would hear this recording of my voice would say that it sounds bad and that something is broken with my mic. But that is exactly why I bought this microphone. The Geophone has a frequency response range between 10 Hz to 1000 Hz, which means in notes between C0 at 16 Hz and B5 at 987 Hz. So naturally what you'd think is that since it has such a limited range as a microphone, it's not a good mic, but that is exactly why I got it. Since it has such a small and narrow range, it means that it can capture sub-bass, bass, and like lower mids frequencies very well without any noise being captured from the environment. So this means that if I record something, I will not hear, for example, a hissing sound of a fan or something, because it just can't capture that. So another cool thing with the Geophone is that when you're recording, you need to record in contact with the object that you want to record. You place your Geophone on top of some instrument, you magnetize it, you use the suction cup to tape it into something. And basically what this means is that you're getting the vibrations of the instrument that you're recording or the object that you're recording directly. So unlike, for example, this condenser microphone, the AT2020, which is capturing my voice through the airwaves, the Geophone is capturing my voice directly from the vibrations of the object that it is being attached to. So this means that, as you saw previously with my voice, if I didn't attach it to my throat or face, it wouldn't capture my voice at all, because it captures the vibrations of what it is attached to only. So for example, if a plane was passing by while I was recording this video, it wouldn't capture anything of that. It wouldn't get that noise. It would only capture what it is being attached to. So when you're recording an object by directly attaching to it, like a contact mic would, what you get is 3 different advantages. So the first one being is that you can capture very long sustains. This is due to the fact that you're capturing the vibrations directly of that object. So you're not capturing like the vibrations traveling through the air until they reach the microphone. At that stage, they can slightly fade in volume. Another advantage, as I've already said, is that you capture a lot less noise of the environment, because you're capturing mostly the vibrations from whatever you're currently in contact with. And another advantage the recording in contact with objects has is that you're capturing a very different sound profile. For example, compared to the condenser microphone. That is because you're capturing mostly the reflections of the sound through the object itself, and a lot less room reflections, because, well, the sound is reflecting through the object and you're recording directly the vibrations of that object. So you just get a more close-up sort of sound, and as you can hear so far, it sounds very different and very dry. So naturally, the next question that anyone would ask is, okay, you got a contact mic in the form of the Geophone, why not use a regular contact mic? So I think the best way to answer that is to compare the two. As you can hear, the contact mic isn't as good at capturing bass frequencies compared to the Geophone. And just in general, they both have a very different sound profile. And that is because just the way they work and the frequencies that they are attuned to capture. There's actually a section at the LOM website that acknowledges why regular contact microphones have sort of like a high pass in their frequency response, and they have a hard time capturing bass, and that's because of impedance differences between the audio interface that you're using to record with and the contact microphone itself. So in short, you can say that I got a Geophone to have bass contact microphone. So now that we know what the Geophone can do, let's hear a few examples of how it sounds. So as you can hear, sometimes the Geophone can sound very distinct and unique, and sometimes it can sound like a thump sort of sound effect, and it may sound like whatever you were trying to record is indiscernible in the actual recording in the end. So what I did was record a few different instruments and sounds just to try and get a feel for what works and what doesn't work. Here are what I ended up capturing. So we have a bass tambourine. We have some dollar kits. We have some ambience of a fridge. You can kind of hear a conversation echoing off the fridge. We have some piano chords. We have some piano notes. We have some piano hits. We have a robot vacuum. And some hits on a wooden table. So after hearing these recordings, I had another idea. Taking the Geophone and a bright regular microphone like the Zoom H5 that can capture up to 20 kilohertz and combine them when capturing a very bass-heavy sound. So that's when I settled on trying to record a cajon with both of these microphones and layer it together. So what you can see in this project is a layered recording, with one layer being the Geophone and the other being the Zoom H5. So let's start with how the H5 captured the cajon. And now let's hear the Geophone. So the Geophone is really hard to tell that it's even a cajon because you don't have this high frequency layer on top of the hits. But the really cool part is when you combine both of them and you get a very bassy sound. And as you can hear, the Geophone really brought a lot of extra sub-bass to the recording. The Zoom H5 did capture some bass, but the Geophone is very, very bass heavy and focused, so it just brought another layer of that. So why not combine the two to create like an extra sub bass heavy version of the cajon that doesn't really exist in the real world. And that's exactly what I did with two contact instruments that allow you to blend the recordings of the H5 and the recordings of the Geophone to create your own version of the cajon. So you can have like the natural sound of the H5, you can have the very low pass and boomy sound of the Geophone, and combine the two of them to create like a very sub bass heavy yet organic sort of high-end frequency sound together. The first one sounds like this. And you can choose the recording group and solo it. For example, let's hear just the Geophone. Or we can just blend the H5 alone. And while they're together, you get a very bassy sound. Let's say we want to accentuate the bass, we can lower the volume of the H5. Let's check the second cajon instrument. So what's different here is that in this recording, the H5 is located inside the cajon to get a very bass heavy sound, both with the H5 and the Geophone. So let's hear just the H5 for a second. Now let's add the Geophone. So as you can hear, you get a very bass heavy sound here that still sounds organic and kind of like a cajon. So one more thing that I wanted to try after recording these sounds in the cajon was how will these sounds fit into sound design? So I loaded up all of these samples into a project and opened like samplers and effects and my favorite synths like Serum and Pigments, and just tried to mess with them to create sounds that wouldn't exist otherwise out of these recordings that sometimes sound very unique and sometimes sound like just a thump on a table or something. So this is what these sounds sound like. I loaded a few of the dollar kits, squashed the sound and distort it a lot. You get something like this. In Pigments, I loaded like me playing a G chord and I just squashed the granular density and also the pitch, so you get some weird sounds, especially if you play high notes. Okay, so this pluck sound is out of the Geophone wooden table hit. I used it as a wavetable source. And a lot of the work here is using the Chaos LFO to slightly modulate a reverb filter, creating a slightly pitch drifting sort of sound. We have the cajon. As you can hear, it's being distorted a lot. I see the Geophone is at full volume and the H5 is at a much lower mix. And then, okay, we have OTT, a gate, and articulate, which is really nice for driving sounds. Let's hear how it sounds without any effect. Once you drive it. So what I did here is I used another hit of the bass tambourine from the Geophone and pink noise. So this is the hit, and then with some noise that is going into a comb filter, I am controlling like the envelope with the open macro here. So you can get a very closed snare or a very open snare. And I'm controlling how bright this snare is. And since Articulate is really helping me, again, clip this patch and make it sound big. I also added another macro for anyone who doesn't have articulate, which is called clip. So I'm using a compressor with very short attack and release times. And when you play like high pitched notes, it sort of sounds like a high snare. There's one more patch I'd like to show you. I call it the Geophone simulated piano. It sounds like this. And what makes it work is a sample of the piano hit that I recorded. It sounds like this. And a wavetable oscillator. As you can hear, it's a sine wave that slightly goes into being a triangle wave. So it has some extra harmonics. Unison macro, which adds some voices. And there's also a swell macro, which turns it from a piano into a pad-like instance by increasing the attack and the sustain. And with the unison, it sounds particularly beautiful. There's also a wet macro, which adds a lot of reverb. And there's a noise macro. Which gives it this lo-fi sort of feel. So as you can hear so far in this video, I think the Geophone will be a really good addition for me as a sound designer and a producer and a Foley and ambience recorder. It can help me field record some really interesting textures and frequencies. It can help capture the bass of an instrument or sounds that I didn't know an instrument might have. And it can also help be the jumpstart to really cool sound design sessions and synth patches. So if you want, you can download the samples of the Geophone, the cajon samples and context instruments, and the sound design session via my Patreon in the paid membership, or you can download a small sampler, a free sampler of these sounds in the free membership as well. Thanks for watching this video, and let me know in the comments what I should sample with the Geophone next.